Good morning. Fairfax County, Virginia welcomes the 7th Comfort Women Memorial in the United States, paying tribute to the victims of Japan's wartime sexual slavery. Prisoner exchange hits above the fold as the last remaining American POW in Afghanistan is freed in a prisoner swap with 5 Taliban-affiliated terrorist suspects. Psy's Gangnam Style hits a new milestone, surpassing 2 billion views on YouTube and still counting. And Potts in Seoul. The Britain's Got Talent superstar checks off a couple items from his bucket list on Korea Today, Monday, June 2nd, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And thank you for tuning in. You're watching Korea Today on a Monday morning. I'm Kim Min-jung alongside Kim Young and Oh Jin-ju. Wow, this weekend was just all too hot to enjoy. What do you think?
It was a scorcher. Definitely was. Friday, Saturday. By the time it reached Sunday, I'd learned my lesson. Stayed indoors.
Stay indoors.
Right, but we're expecting some rain starting this afternoon, so that will cool things down a bit. And the rain is in the forecast until Wednesday, and then the weather is going to heat up again in the latter half of the week.
That's right. So stay cool today and all throughout the week, guys. All right, well, let's get to our top story for this Monday morning. The South Korean chief delegate to the 6-party nuclear talks is now in Washington to meet with his U.S. counterpart to discuss the conditions in which the disarmament talks can resume. Speaking to reporters upon arriving in the U.S., Seoul's point man on the North Korean nuclear issue, Mr. Hwang Jun-guk, stated that North Korea has carried out 3 nuclear tests since the negotiations were halted in 2008, adding that discussions of reopening the multilateral talks would be at the top of the agenda during his meeting with Washington's nuclear envoy Glenn Davies. The fine-tuning of positions between Seoul and Washington comes ahead of Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Korea, expected to take place later this month, when the Chinese leader is likely to have a one-on-one with South Korean President Park Geun-hye.
After 11.49% of registered voters turned out for the 2 days of early voting ahead of the June 4th local elections, Korea's rival parties have weighed in on its demographics. The ruling Saenuri Party expressed concern about the high voter turnout among voters in their 20s, as they're generally known to be more liberal, while the main opposition, New Politics Alliance for Democracy, expressed disappointment in the turnout of voters in the 30s and 40s bracket. According to the National Election Commission, among the weekend's voters, nearly 16% of voters were in their 20s, while those in their 60s were at 12%. Turnout among those in their 30s and 40s were at 9.5% and 10% respectively. Experts say the party's official statements on the early voting turnout seem like a typical strategy to boost support in the days before an election.
The special parliamentary committee created to investigate the cause of the Seoul ferry disaster that killed nearly 300 people kicks off its probe at Paengmokgang Harbor in Int'l Island, the closest port from where the passenger ferry sank. A total of 18 lawmakers from the ruling and the opposition parties will visit Jindo in Jeollanam-do province to meet with the families of the victims, including the relatives of the 16 passengers still missing, and also encourage divers who are involved in the search mission. The committee, which has 90 days to fully delve into what led to the ship's demise, will hold hearings in early August. Meanwhile, the death of a second civilian diver and the ensuing bad weather conditions will likely keep search operations halted over the next few days.
The 7th Comfort Women Memorial in the United States was erected in Fairfax County, Virginia last Friday, honoring over 200,000 women forced into sexual slavery by the Japanese military during World War II. Now, what's significant about the memorial is that it's the first one to be established in the D.C. metropolitan area and especially within the grounds of a government center compound. For more, we have Herdon Town Council member Grace Han-Wolf, who is also the honorary co-chair of the Comfort Women Memorial Peace Garden Committee, joining us on the phone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you and good morning.
So could you tell us about the efforts that were made to establish this monument in Fairfax County, how long it took for this dedication, and the people that were involved in this move?
It was a really moving ceremony. We had approximately a little over 200 attendees from around the community and the East Coast of the United States. I joined the group in 2012 to help them interface with our local county government to work with them to establish a memorial. And the initial thinking was that the Washington Coalition for Comfort Women's Issues, which is an NGO and a private organization, had approached the county to originally place this in one of the county's many parks. And the group and I had made a presentation to the Board of Supervisors, the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, Sharon Bulova, and she was so moved about the story, and it resonated with her personal platform of protecting women's rights and also combating human trafficking, that she, as a point of personal privilege, invited the group to place a memorial on the county grounds, which was absolutely a wonderful thing to do. And so the memorial is a very tasteful memorial that's placed adjacent to the 9/11 memorial, and it was unveiled in a big ceremony on Friday evening with over 200 guests.
And we hear that the memorial and the state's decision to mandate the dual usage of EC and the Sea of Japan for the waters between Korea and Japan in Virginia school textbooks are facing strong protests from the Japanese embassy there and activists in Japan. What were some of the challenges you faced towards creating the memorial?
Actually, surprisingly, we didn't have any challenges when we moved forward with the proposal, the design, or the installation. Because this memorial really wasn't about bashing Japan, it was really as a way for us to make sure these women were not forgotten, make sure this crime was not forgotten, and for the world to know that Fairfax County is going to take a strong stand on human trafficking. I do know that with the EC bill, that the Japanese embassy felt the need to lobby our government, which I was very surprised as an elected. We viewed the EC bill very much as an administrative correction to Virginia textbooks for Virginia children, and really not anything that would involve or require the permission of a foreign national government. So to date, my understanding is the Japanese government has expressed some regret to Fairfax County government over the installation, but we really did not face any challenges whatsoever moving forward. And the entire public, the general public, the Korean American community were very supportive.
And Comfort Women memorials usually came in the form of a statue of a girl or a tombstone, but the one in Fairfax County is quite special, was flanked by butterfly-shaped benches. Now, what does butterfly represent, and what kind of message does the memorial contain?
The butterfly benches, my understanding, the butterflies are really a symbol for the comfort women, and it really is an expression of hope and freedom from oppression. And the butterfly, we had a live release of butterflies, and it was a very beautiful, moving ceremony. The two benches are a place for folks to come and sit and reflect. The garden is a very restful place, a very peaceful place. It contains, as you can see from the photographs, a nice stone marker with a bronze plaque that has an inscription that really talks about hoping that the comfort women find eternal peace and justice for the crimes they committed against them, but really to make sure that that this memorial serves as a reminder of the importance of protecting the rights of women and affirming basic human rights. And that's really the goal here. This is a huge human trafficking case. The story, and sadly, is still repeated in our day and age with many women and girls, not just from around the world, but also from Fairfax County. So the butterflies are really that symbol of hope and freedom from oppression, and there's a lovely spot for folks to sit and think about what they can do to combat this crime.
Definitely. I'm afraid that's all the time we've got today. Thank you for your time today, Mrs. Wolf.
Thank you.
That was Herdon Town Council member Grace Han Wolf on the Comfort Women Memorial dedicated in Fairfax County, Virginia.
Good Monday morning. Hope you had a great weekend. Now let's run through the front pages of your newspapers. A wide variety of stories this morning. Let's go ahead and launch in print today with the top story on 중앙일보. on the voter turnouts. And you already heard about this in our headlines, the voter turnouts from early voting for the June 4th local elections that took place just this past Friday and Saturday. And it is indeed a top story on most of the front pages this morning. The headline says, Generation Match, 1.91 million for those in their 20s and 30s versus 1.93 million votes for those in their 50s and 60s. With the younger generation actively participating and closing the gap in the voter turnout, the subheadline here notes that the highest turnout yet for early voting was recorded at 11.49%, and almost 16% of that came from the young voters in their 20s. Now, if you take a look at this pie chart in the image here, it shows the number of voters. The portion of 11.49 signify the 4.7 million people who participated in early voting this time around out of the total number of potential nationwide voters at more than 40 million. And we'll leave that story now and go to some other domestic news on Gyeongyang Shinmun. And the headline reads, ruling party strength for the president versus the opposition party, judgment based on Seoul disaster. Now, we have 2 days left until the June 4th local elections, and the leaders of the ruling and opposition parties are devoting all their energy into their last bouts of campaigning. On this note, the ruling Saenuri party is all out trying to appeal to the public by asking them to give another chance to the president to shape up and reform the government. On the other hand, the opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy said the public should make the right call and vote based on their sentiments of sadness and anger from the Seoul ferry tragedy. And switching gears now to the subject of the newly tapped security chief here on 동아일보. Yesterday morning, President Park Geun-hye appointed Defense Minister Kim Kwan-jin to lead the Presidential National Security Office. The headline says, sturdy security advisor, no changes to current North Korea policy. And in the meantime, Han Min-gu, a former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, was also nominated to be Kim's successor. Now, in the picture on the left, Kim Kwan-jin will take office immediately with his new position not subject to a parliamentary hearing. He will also continue ministerial duties until Han, here on the picture on the right, is approved by the National Assembly. A hardline, reform-minded former Army general, Kim shot to fame for his upright posture and a series of remarks warning of strikes and other punishment against North Korea in the event of its provocation. And as a sub-headline here notes, Seoul is expected to maintain the current line in its North Korea policy, dealing sternly with increasing North Korean threats. And finally, let's go ahead and wrap with a look at the Mail Business newspaper. The headline reads, income share of Korea's top 10% takes up 45% of the total income. So Korea's income inequality is similar to that of the U.S. according to recent research. Korea's top 10% took up 45% of total income as of 2012, according to Professor of Economics Kim Dang-yeon at Dongguk University, who released the analysis of the top 10% income shares in 5 major countries just yesterday. Now, this was requested by the Daily. And this is merely 3 percentage points lower than 48% of the U.S. Now, the top 1% in the meantime took up 12% of the total income. And also, if you take a look at this graph, it shows the wealth concentration of the top 10% by country. As I just mentioned, the top 10% took up 48% for those in the U.S. and 45% here in Korea, also 40% in Japan and 32% in France. And that was a look at your newspaper headlines for this Monday. And coming up are the stock numbers from Friday.
So at the top of the hour, we complained about this weekend being just too hot, but guess what? It's June, which means it's just going to get hotter.
You know what? I'm afraid then sooner than we feel, it's all of it's suddenly going to be the monsoon or the rainy season. But speaking of rain, we are expecting a bit of rain, as you mentioned earlier on. Now we'll go to Chun Song-cho, who joins us from the outdoors, to tell us what the weather's going to be like.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. I'm crossing over the Chamsigo Bridge, and did it just turn June or July yesterday? The heat wave for the past several days is so untimely for this time of the year that it's confusing some of us what month we're in. Over the weekend, many cities hit the 30s, and with the high level of UV rays across the country, it was scorching hot. Some of the main beaches in Busan even officially opened their doors to the public yesterday, which is 1 month earlier than usual. However, for those who are not ready for this summer heat just yet, I have some good news for you. Rainfall is in the forecast starting today and will cool things down a little. As of now, we just have overcast skies here in Seoul, but all the way down in Jeju, showers have started to fall. They will be very heavy at times, pouring up to 20 millimeters an hour or 150 millimeters in total today. So a heavy rain pre-advisory has been issued, especially around the mountainous areas. This downpour will lose its power while traveling across the peninsula, and by the time when it reaches here in the afternoon, it'll be less than 20 millimeters. And currently, a lot of clouds in the skies and stronger, cooler breezes are somewhat foreshadowing the upcoming rainfall. So let's take a closer look at today's forecast. We see a drop in temperatures in general compared to yesterday. Seoul's highs are 26, Daegu the warmest at 27, and Gwangju and Gangneung the coolest at 22 degrees Celsius, around a 10 degrees decrease there. The rainfall looks to be on and off through Wednesday, so have your umbrella ready for the next couple of days. This is all for me with the weather update. Now back to you, Minjung, in the studio.
Now, in our global news, the last remaining American prisoner of war held by the Taliban in Afghanistan is now a free man after the U.S. government agreed to a swap deal. We'll get to the details with our Eunice Kim, who is joining us from the News Center. Good morning to you, Eunice.
Good morning, Minjung.
Now, this decision is met with some heavy criticism.
You can imagine it. So this exchange deal appearing to have happened very quickly as several dozen U.S. Special Operations Forces descended upon eastern Afghanistan over the weekend to secure his release. He is 28-year-old Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl and had been held captive for nearly 5 years. He'll be reunited with his family in the U.S. after medical evaluations at Bagram Airfield and a military hospital in Germany, where he is reported to be this morning. Now, the unprecedented swap deal has come under criticism by some U.S. lawmakers who raised the concern that enemies of the U.S. now will have a stronger incentive to capture Americans. The 5 freed militants out of Guantanamo Bay prison were mid to high-ranking members of the Taliban government toppled by Washington back in 2001, and Arizona Senator John McCain described them as, quote, the hardest of the hardcore. Explaining the deal, U.S. authorities said the POW's health was deteriorating and had taken a turn for the worse. U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel denied that the country had negotiated with terrorists, saying getting your prisoners back was a normal process. Over in Belgium, an arrest has been made in the deadly shooting at a Jewish museum late last month. He is identified as 29-year-old Frenchman Mehdi Namouche. He was arrested at a train station in southern France on Friday in possession of firearms and ammunition. Prosecutors say he was also holding a video in which he apparently claimed responsibility for the shooting at the Brussels Jewish Museum on May 24th that had killed 3 and left 1 person in critical condition and raised alarm at various Jewish sites across Belgium. Prosecutors said Namouche had a criminal record and had spent over a year in Syria, where he forged relations with radical Islamists.
Now, meanwhile, anti-coup demonstrations have been continuing in Thailand for some 10 days now, and police are cracking down on the protesters.
Their presence certainly was felt in Sunday's demonstrations. Authorities say some 5,700 security forces were deployed in Bangkok following protests by the country's pro-government red shirts denouncing the military coup. Now, the demonstrations were organized by a veteran social activist who supports ousted Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra, but they broke up a couple hours later after some 5,700 soldiers and police with riot shields secured key intersections. The military junta has banned political gatherings of 5 people or more, but small protests, like you said, had been taking place in the capital city most days since the coup's launch on May 22nd. And that's a wrap of the global headlines we're following this morning.
And still ahead, a talent rally brings the king of pop back from the grave. An impromptu violin recital with a message, and an a cappella clip made on the subway. All of this and much more coming up on Viral Feed. Stay tuned.
Well, at the top of our program, we did mention the very hot weather over the weekend. It seems that weather must have played a factor because many people did visit the indoors areas such as arts and culture spots. Our Im Yoon-hee joins us with more on that. Good morning.
Good morning.
It is warm, isn't it?
Right, it is heating up quickly. So we have some wonderful galleries here in Seoul that were quite popular this weekend because of the weather. So today I have a few galleries that feature work from Korean contemporary artists, some of who create works that look like they're out of this world. Let's take a look. It almost looks like you're staring into a microscope, or maybe into a telescope gazing into outer space. These images look like a glimpse into another universe, but the small shapes and vivid colors gathered together to create the works of Korean contemporary artist Park Hyun-soo. Currently on display at the Jean Art Gallery, Park's pieces all hold true to his very distinct characteristics.
Involves dripping and dragging the paint. So when I squeeze the paint, 2 different energies form. The dripping is a very free energy, and the squeezing is a careful, entirely different energy.
Although it doesn't appear so, each colorful shard and sphere are carefully placed by Park, sorted into the beautiful kaleidoscope that both astonishes and captivates his audience. And from the outside, this appears to be an old inn. But inside is a gallery housing artist Chang Eun-bok's collection. Chang uses a ruined interior and shows soft interior design, a technique of the artist to fuse together both the traditional and the contemporary. Also on display at the Audiovisual Pavilion is a compilation of 11 artists' works, some dating back to 10 years. Each piece has a story to tell, the story of when and where it came from. It's a collection of contemporary pieces that are being revived to greet today's audience.
Lots of abstract pieces in the last place that you reported for us. There once is not enough. It seems like a reflection of what the artist might be feeling when it comes to an exhibition, that once is not enough to display these artworks.
Exactly. So the purpose of this exhibition is to really show that these artworks capture, I guess it's bubble in time. And so they want to retell the story of when and where these artworks were created and displayed, which is why they're being brought back. And so these little time capsules are, interesting for us as the audience and the viewer to see.
That's right. It's just like a book or a good movie, every time you watch it again or read it again, you'll find something that you missed, something worth remembering, right? All right, thank you very much for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
All right, stay with us on Korea Today because Potts in Seoul is coming up. We're talking about Paul Potts, the world-renowned tenor. He visits Seoul every once in a while for concerts, but this time he's going to knock one off the bucket list here. Join us later on Korea Today. Cha Mina is going to join us with that on Ins and Outs. Paul Potts in Seoul.
And in today's news sum up, global sensation Psy's Gangnam Style set a new record over the weekend, with it becoming the first YouTube video to surpass 2 billion views.
I think I may have contributed with a few
Me
hits
too.
there. And this is no small feat, considering that the second most viewed video only garnered about half of that at 1 billion. We'll get the details on this and other keywords from the weekend. There's Sorang, who joins us from the digital room. Good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. And what perfect timing for Psy. I'm sure his marketing team couldn't be more happier, because his new single is due to come out in just a week's time. I'll get to more on this in just a minute, but first, let's see what else was trending online the past 24 hours. Many people headed down to the Busan Motor Show this weekend. Psy, as we just mentioned, and according to the Science Ministry yesterday, NASA and the Korea Aerospace Research Institute will join efforts in developing a test lunar orbiter. Amidst the Korean won closing at 1,020 won per the US dollar, concerns arose for the Korea's exports industry. Meanwhile, over in football, Korea beat Kuwait 2-1 in their Asian Games warm-up match on Sunday. Now let's go back to the motor show. Many people lined up for the show this past weekend, and the show came closer to reaching its goal of becoming the most visited show in motor show history. Let's take a look. In just 3 days, over 340,000 people came down to the show held at Busan's BEXCO Exhibition Center. In particular, there was a surge in the visitor count on Sunday yesterday, partially due to the beaches in Busan opening that day for the upcoming summer season. And there was plenty to keep the car aficionados entertained. From the showcasing of brand new designs and auto parts to the good-looking models and even celebrities. On press day, many male celebrities with endorsement deals came down to the show, the list including sports stars such as former national soccer team player Kim Nam-il posing for Hyundai, and actors such as Cho In-sung for Mercedes-Benz, as well as singers such as Super Junior's Choi Si-won for Audi. Now, the Busan International Motor Show is held every 2 years, and the previous 2012 show holds the record for the most number of visitors at 1.1 million. But with 7 more days left, there is a high chance that this number will be soon surpassed by this year's show. And for more on the show, we have an interview lined up with the CEO of BEXCO coming up later in the program. Switching gears now to Psy, the singer galloped his way into the record books on Saturday with a music video to his Gangnam Style breaking the 2 billion viewer count on YouTube. Let's take a look. It all began in July 2012 when the video was first uploaded on YouTube. Despite many viewers not understanding its Korean lyrics, it quickly became an internet sensation thanks to its addictive tune and crazy visuals. Various memes and remake videos were created from around the world, and by September that year, the original Gangnam Style video became the most liked YouTube video of all time. And by November, it surpassed Justin Bieber's Baby to become the most viewed YouTube video of all time. By December that year, it became the first video to amass 1 billion views. Fast forward to 2014, and it is still YouTube's most viewed video of all time at just over 2 billion hits, while Justin Bieber's Baby is in second place at 1 billion. To this, singer Psy tweeted very honorable and burdensome numbers. With appreciation, I'll come back soon with a more joyful one. He is of course referring to his next single, Hangover, which will premiere on June 8th during the Jimmy Kimmel Show. And this new song, Hangover, is a collaboration with US rapper Snoop Dogg and is supposed to showcase the more hip-hop side to side. And that's a wrap-up for me. This has been Sorang with your news sum up. Now back to you guys in the studio.
And a good Monday morning to you all as we kick things off with the Men's Rhythmic Gymnastics World Cup, which took place over the weekend. And just like Sung-Keun did in the previous 8 consecutive World Cup events, she finished off on the podium once again. Now, not the best of her performances in Belarus, but the 20-year-old rhythmic gymnast was still able to finish off with a couple of medals here as she won the silver medal in the hoop event after scoring 17.8833 points. But not only that, she was also able to score a bronze medal, this time over in the ribbon event after scoring 17.7833 points. Now, despite struggling in the ball event and failing to advance to the finals for that event, Sung-Keun has now won a medal in 9 consecutive World Cup events. And now moving over to the majors, where LA Dodgers' Lee Hyun-jin earned his 6th win of the season, and this time against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, he didn't get close to pitching a perfect game this time, but still pitched 6 solid innings, giving up just 2 runs while striking out 4. But his 6th win of the season was a lot easier this time, thanks to his teammates that gave him enough run support, including Hanley Ramirez, who blasted 2 home runs on the day as the Dodgers topped the Pirates 12-2. And now moving over to the KBO this time, we had all 4 games take place on Sunday as the Lotte Giants crushed the Doosan Bears for the 2nd straight day, 14-5. With the Nexen Heroes beating the LG Twins 8-4 and the Hanwha Eagles win one over the SK Wyverns 9-3. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the red-hot NC Dinos take on the Kia Tigers. Of course, going into the game here, we go over to the 2nd inning. Lee Ho-jun to lead off the inning, sends one to deep left center field. That one is out of here, and it's 1-0 NC Dinos. But check this out, bottom of the 2nd, Kim Da-won to lead off for Kia. Deja vu, a home run over the left center field wall, and we're tied 1-1. Not done yet. Lee Dae-hyung this time, an RBI single to right, and Kia has the lead 2-1. 3rd inning, more from Kia Tigers. Lee Bum-ho this time singles to center field. Red Pill scores and is 3-1 before Park Gi-nam makes it 4-1 with an RBI single to left field. Now 7th inning, Kia up 6-1. Lee Jong-wook singles to right field. Deficit cut to 6-2, but it's NC's Ji Seok-kun, the next batter, who drills this ball to deep center field. Back, gone a 3-run shot, and it's now 6-5. But despite the late rally, the Kia Tigers would hang on to beat the NC Dinos 6-5. And now moving over to football this time, where the South Korean U23 team went up against Kuwait to commemorate the opening of the Incheon Asiad main stadium in a friendly. And a remarkable match from some of the top young footballers in the nation as Kim Seung-dae opened up the scoring for Korea with a goal in the 20th minute. But after giving up a goal in the 39th minute, things went quiet from there as the match looked to be ending in a draw. When the 90-plus minute, Korea draws a penalty as Chang Hyun-soo finds the back of the net, giving Korea to 2-1 victory. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you had a great weekend. I'm Simon Oh, and it's time to check out this week's viral feed. We have a whole host of very awesome stories for you today. Now, the first story that we're going to get into, I'll be honest, it's a video of babies, and I know everyone's tired of baby videos and pictures of food. This one's pretty awesome. Let's have a look at how these little babies get their groove on. Now, as you can see, they're only, I don't know, maybe 3 years old. But that's not going to hold them back from dancing. They're standing up. My favorite part comes right here. You see that? She doesn't want to dance alone. She's trying to get the little boy to dance with her.
Not all that cooperative, though.
Now, at 3 years old, I don't even think I was properly potty trained. It's hard to do anything, let alone bop along to a beat. But these kids have definitely got a sense of rhythm. I wonder the clip's called the Baby Clubbers.
Go, baby.
You were chubby cheeks. So cute.
That's
really
pretty
cute.
amazing. Just the cuteness factor aside, just the moves. Now, speaking of moves, have a look at this little boy in the pink shirt over here because he has the choreography down to this girl group's song. It's pretty amazing how well he gets into it. Now, I've been told by professional dancers that you need to own the moves when you dance. I think there's no denying that these kids do exactly that. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible, I think.
And his tummy just makes it all the
It does feel
better. I think
I've got the tummy part down, but as for the dancing part, not so much. All right, let's move on to our next story. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people talk on their phones while they're on the subway. It's just so annoying. And yet, looking at this next story, at this video, I think if this happened, maybe I might change my mind. It's pretty amazing. Let's have a look. Now, we start inside a subway car here, and the people are getting phone calls. It's nothing new. We've all seen it before. It's a little annoying, I guess, with all these people talking. But then, give it a minute, and then the phone calls, all of a sudden, go a cappella. You hear that? Isn't that amazing, guys?
That is very cool.
Now, what's really super cool about this a cappella project is that they're all holding separate conversations on their phone. So if you have a repeat listen, each of them is having a conversation on their phone, and somehow it all comes together to form this great music, and I guess the internet users just can't get enough of it. It's racking up the hits, and it is turning into a big sensation
The guy in the middle, though, he's dozing off, but...
That's the part that if they asked me to be in a video like that, I think I would actually be doing that part.
I would say maybe
the
he's
sleeping
the one that's
part
sort of
I can
having a
do.
lucid dream
So who
there.
made this video anyway?
It's actually very interesting. It's by a guy named Lee Shin-hyuk, a man that's already quite the UCC superstar. He's just 20 years old, but he's already working currently as a singer and a director. Now, he's known for his unique UCC videos, and what we just saw on the phone was actually voted the best video on YouTube Nation.
All right, so how did they make it? That's the question.
You're in luck because actually, in addition to the video itself, there's also raw footage on the making of the video. So it shows you how it was made, the rehearsals. There's some short onset videos and rehearsals, interviews, outtakes. There's a lot of stuff going on, and as you can tell, it seems like a simple video, but once you go behind the scenes, there's obviously a lot of work.
So they actually had a professional team that they were working with, and they coordinated this together from start to scratch.
It's difficult to tell if they're actual pros or just really dedicated amateurs, but I gotta say, the results come out looking pretty
Well,
fantastic.
these days, with the technology that you have, I mean, even the amateurs, they can turn out with really professional stuff.
Right, and UCC, it's just turning it into a whole new world in terms of showing off your talent. Now, let's go on to our next video here. Speaking of talent, actually, before I show you the video, let's have a listen to a little bit of music. It's a voice that you may recognize.
Are you going to sing along, Simon?
I'm not. That's, again, what we'd call a broadcasting
Let's
accent.
listen, guys.
All right,
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, that's right. It's the king of pop himself. That song we just heard a snippet of was Love Never Felt So Good. And it's a track on the Michael Jackson album that was released posthumously early last month. And this has brought him back into the spotlight. Now, our next viral feed video is of a high school student who happens to be a pretty huge Michael Jackson fan. Let's check it out. Now, we find a high school in the US that's abuzz with a popular talent rally that they hold among the students. Remember these talent shows? And as you can see, there is no dearth of talent here. Look at that. That's flexibility. But this one stands out. Slick Michael Jackson moves performed to my favorite Michael Jackson song, Billie Jean. And let's have a look at this.
Pretty good.
This kid has got some moves. Talk about amateurs with talent. Look at that, right? That looks like he's just got everything down.
And he's a student.
I mean, get rid of the auditorium background, and it almost looks like Michael Jackson himself. He's got the spins.
Wow.
He's got the kicks. Oh, man. How does someone turn combing your hair into something so cool? He's got the moonwalk. You gotta love the moonwalk. And, of course, he's got the toe stand. Wow. And as you can imagine, it's kind of a no-brainer that this student's Billie Jean version won the talent show. It's caused a huge viral response. And in the first week up, it had over 15.1 million views.
Wow, I'm sure he became the most popular kid in the school.
You know, that moonwalk will do it every time. No matter how many times people have seen it, you just do the moonwalk properly, then you blow everyone away.
I've spent many countless hours, embarrassing hours in my bedroom practicing that move.
I cannot get that down. It's just impossible.
But this guy gets it down completely. In fact, we prepared a little comparison of these two. Michael Jackson himself and the student, and we looked at their moves side by side, and it turns out they're completely identical. Look at this. It's almost indistinguishable. It's just unbelievable the talent this guy has.
Wow.
Look at that.
Well, Michael has longer arms.
Michael, are we going by first name basis now?
Of course, no one can actually be exactly as good as Michael, but I think that kid gets pretty close. Now, for our final story today, we're going to switch gears a little bit with a violin recital that happens to take place in a rather odd location. Let's have a look at why it's causing such a stir in cyberspace. Now, we start with a man playing on his violin, ordinary enough, but wait a minute, he's on an airport runway because where else would he be, right?
I will play for a flight ticket.
It's not something you see every day, but what I find interesting is that no one seems to care. They're all just going about their business, they're packing their luggage, they're going on their plane. Now, this violinist is a guy by the name of Zach Depew, no relationship to Pepe. And he happens to be a part of a music group made up of 3 classically trained string players. And he started this particular impromptu recital on the tarmac when the airline they were supposed to take a performance to denied them access to the plane. Now, can you guess what the reason was?
Why?
It's pretty ridiculous. Their violins weren't allowed on board because according to the airline, their violins, they just took up too much space. They didn't have room for violins. Now, we all know how big a violin is. It sounds kind of ridiculous. Despite their protests, they remain grounded, but as you can see with this video, you can ground the musician, but you can't ground the music. This video has 270,000 hits so far, and it's only climbing. All right, guys, it's been fun, but that's it for this week. I've been Simon Oh. This has been Viral Feed. Ciao for now.
All right. Well, as we mentioned before, the 7th Busan International Motor Show is underway in Busan. Have we visited the site yet?
You know, I have really wanted to go, but Busan is, of course, far away. I have important obligations here that I have to do.
True.
But 340,000 people so far, and their goal is to hit that 1 million mark.
Right. And we got a chance to meet with BEXCO CEO Oh Sung-Keun to hear more about this year's show. Let's take a look.
Mr. Oh Sung-Keun, the CEO of BEXCO, thank you very much for taking your busy time out to tell us the story about the Busan International Motor Show. Thank you very much.
반갑습니다. Thank you for having me.
Well, the 2014 Busan International Motor Show has finally kicked off and it is already creating a lot of buzz. One of the reasons is that the event is much larger than the previous event. So what are some of the noticeable things we should look out for?
우선 금년도에는 저희 벡스코가 2년 전에 새로 시설 확장을 했습니다. 그래서 이제 기존에 있던 본관과 또 새로 증축된 신관 이 전체 시설을 다 써서 이제 모터쇼가 열리게 됩니다. 그래서 규모 면에서 볼 때 한 50% 정도 늘어난 그런 전시 면적에 참가 브랜드 수도 국내외에 22개 브랜드가 참가를 해가지고 전체 210여 종의 이제 차량을 전시를 하는데 이것도 역대 최대의 규모고 또 하나의 특징은 이 전시되는 차 중에서 한 30대 이상이 다 새로 소개되는 신차들 그리고 또 한 10대 이상의 그런 컨셉카들이 소개가 돼서 규모면이나 또는 내용면에서 아주 다 역대 최고를 기록했다는 그런 특징을 가지고 있습니다.
Well, I understand that there are many new models being shown at this motor show this year. So why do you think is the reason behind so many car makers from Korea and overseas pushing into this motor show to show their new models at this motor show? What do you think is the reason behind that?
수도권 지역, 서울을 포함한 수도권 지역은 각 브랜드들이 어느 정도 각자의 시장 쉐어를 가지고 있는데 반해서 이쪽 지역은 특정 브랜드가 새로운 차량, 그다음에 소비자의 그런 기호를 사로잡는 그런 차를 제공을 하게 되면은 그 차가 상당히 많이 판매가 되고 이렇게 돼가지고 브랜드 간의 그런 시장 점유를 하기 위한 경쟁이 가장 치열한 시장이 바로 이 부산을 중심으로 한 이 지역입니다. 그래서 국내 차뿐만이 아니라 많은 수입차들이 새로운 모델, 또 새로운 컨셉카 이런 거를 통해 가지고 기업들의 브랜드 이미지를 높이고 그걸 통해서 소비자들의 기호를 사로잡으려고 저희 부산 모터쇼에 아주 심혈을 기울여서 전시장을 꾸미고 또 새로운 차들을 소개를 하고 있습니다.
At this year's Busan International Motor Show, in your opinion, what should we look out for in new models and new cars being shown at this motor show?
우선은 우리 그 국내 차 중에서 현대차가 월드 프리미어 그러니까 전 세계에서 최초로 공개되는 차량을 이번 부산 국제모터쇼에 공개를 했습니다. 그 차는 한국에서 고급 승용차 브랜드로 잘 나가는 제네시스하고 또 그랜저, 그 사이 중간급에 속하는 중형 고급 세단차를 세계에서 최초로 이제 공개를 했습니다. 그리고 우리 한국에서 그 많은 그 수입차들이 성공을 하는 이유 중에 하나는 고연비, 즉 디젤 차량들이 상당히 성공을 하고 있습니다. 그래서 국내 차도 이번에 우리 현대를 비롯한 이런 차들이 새로운 모델로 디젤형 승용차들을 내놓고 있는데 이런 부분이 주목할 만한 그런 새로운 신차라고 말씀드리겠습니다.
Well, Busan International Motor Show has been being held, as you said, biannually since 2001, and it has been an amazing journey for the motor show to be shown to the world, to be exact. So tell us about the future aspects of development in the motor show in the future.
부산 국제모터쇼는 아마 올해가 이 행사의 굉장히 전환기가 될 걸로 저희는 평가를 하고 있습니다. 그 규모면이나 또는 전시되는 여러 가지 내용 면에서 상당히 많은 부분들이 아주 개선이 됐다고 이렇게 이제 평가를 받고 있습니다. 그래서 다른 국제적인 그 모터쇼들을 하고 그동안은 좀 어느 정도 격차가 있고 어떻게 보면은 로컬 행사가 아니냐 하는 그런 그 평가도 좀 있었습니다만 이제부터는 저희도 아시아권에서 볼 때만 하더라도 도쿄나 또는 상해에서 있는 이런 모터쇼에 못지않는 그런 국제적인 모터쇼로 발돋움을 할 수 있을 걸로 기대하고 있습니다.
Well, it sounds like there are a lot more in store for the Busan International Motor Show. So thank you very much, Mr. Oh Sung-Keun, for taking your time out to share your story. And I hope this will be another great success this year at the 2014 Busan International Motor Show. Thank you very much for joining us.
All right, it's time to get up close and personal with the winner of Britain's Got Talent in the year 2007, Paul Potts. And it still gets a tear up when I see that video. It's so touching.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
7 years after, he still inspires people to come out and do what they love the most. And joining us is Cha Min-na to talk more about Paul Potts' endeavor here.
That's right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Paul Potts is no stranger to Korea. He's been here over a dozen times, and he was here recently for a concert. And in addition to his concert, he wanted to experience something new. So we're going to follow him on his special day in Korea. After winning an auditions show in 2007 in Britain, he became a world-renowned figure, Paul Potts.
See, I'm crying again.
Tissue, please.
Paul came to Korea to meet his fans, and this wasn't his first time. This marked his 14th visit.
Sold out, too.
His voice allows us to forget our reality and gives us a message of hope.
Though he can't speak Korean, he always sings this folk song in Korean at his concerts here, 그리운 금강산, longing for Kumgangsan Mountain.
I hope that in some small way I can help get the message out that Korea is more than just industry, that it is about beautiful places, about its culture and also about its people.
Paul Potts also loves taking photographs, but he's never been able to in Korea because of his busy schedule. He's always wanted to go on a photography journey here, and Ins and Outs gave him that chance. The journey started at Bukchon Hanok Village, a popular traditional village located right in downtown Seoul. It's one of the top 10 photo spots picked by foreigners in the city. Paul told us this was his second time here, but the first time he had the chance to bring his camera along.
안녕하세요. Is this the right way to go to get to the shoe? Is it up here?
Yes. 이쪽으로 가시면 돼요.
감사합니다.
He had an eye for photography and quickly sought out the best locations to take some scenic shots, as you can see.
Oh, he takes some nice pictures.
Very nice.
This is the view that I was looking for. It's the reason why I like it is because, as you'll see, you'll get the traditional old village, or the Puchon village, but beyond it, you've got the modern soul.
He's got the philosophy too.
Paul Potts admitted he had a soft spot for Korean culture, and he had a second ins and outs request to try his hand at singing Arirang, Korea's folk song, or 민요.
Nice to meet you.
안녕하세요. I came here to learn Arirang. It's one of Korea's most important songs.
Arirang was designated an Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity by UNESCO in 2012. In order to fulfill Paul's wishes, we met with Master of Gyeonggi folk songs, Lee Chun-hee. First, she taught him vocalizing techniques for Korean folk songs.
발성을 위주로 내가 하는 거 따라하세요.
네.
그다음에
Korean folk songs and operatic music have very different vocalization styles, but Paul held his own.
Oh, very good.
Her compliments gave him confidence, and they jumped right into the next step.
나를 버리고 가시는 님은 심리도 못 가서 발병이 난다.
심리도 못 가서 발병 난다.
Pretty good with the pronunciation.
Yeah, very good.
Arirang is deeply infused with the joys and sorrows of our ancestors and past. Paul shared his interpretation of the symbolic lyrics.
It's like there's some kind of longing that leads to emotional pain.
He had a grasp on the sentiment, so what's next? The singing.
아리랑 이걸 할 거거든요. 한번 여기만 한번 해볼래요? 아리랑 아리랑 나를 버리고 땡.
It wasn't easy, but Paul didn't stop trying. The style and technique may be different, but that talent, understanding, and passion for music was there. Now, those are the basics in singing that get you started, whether it's Korean folk songs or operatic arias. And thanks to Paul's ins and outs request, we got to hear him sing Arirang.
Very high key for a man.
And it's been too long since Paul Potts got to spend some downtime in Korea. So we do hope that he got to enjoy this experience.
I've had a great day today in Seoul. It's been great to learn Arirang and also to revisit some places that I've been to before because they never look exactly the same a second time. I hope to keep coming back here to Korea. I'm very grateful for the warm welcome I always receive when I'm here, and here's to me coming back very soon again. 감사합니다.
Oh, looks looks like he had a fun day, but he is no stranger to Korea. This was his 14th visit, I believe.
Yeah,
Wow.
and he just said that he wants to visit again soon.
Exactly.
So he is very welcomed in Korea, as you can see. And his story is actually one that is very relatable to Koreans, they say, because he started out as a cell phone salesman.
Yeah. Right.
And then he went on to win this big audition show, Britain's Got Talent. So that changed his life forever, and it changed the course of his life. And now he's here touring the globe and is able to visit Korea and do these fun things.
So 14 times visiting Korea in a period of about 7 years or so. And he's going to be visiting a lot more. Might as well buy a house over here because he's also the honorary PR ambassador.
Near Busan International Village too.
Right?
He is.
He's the honorary PR ambassador.
That's right, for Korean tourism specifically. And as you can see, with his hobby of taking pictures, he has been able to take a lot of pictures. One is Jeju-do here, as you can see, and Geoje-do, Sukcho.
Wow.
There's also a picture of Udo Island, Gyeongbokgung Palace, and Gangnam, and other places.
He knows what he's doing.
I know he's quite professional.
Very
He's
good.
very talented in this as well.
It's a big hobby of his, in apart from his opera singing, of course. So who'd have thunk?
Well, did he have a favorite spot in the Bukchon Hanok village, just quickly?
Yeah, he mentioned that he had been there before and he had visited the Hanok villages, but that this time it was different because he had his camera on him, number one. And number two, he was able to appreciate the architecture as well as the people around it. So I think before he went off during off hours, and so he wasn't able to get a lot of the life that the Hanok village provides, but this time with his camera, he got a different experience, a truly unique experience this time, I'm sure.
It sounds great. It's really good to see Paul Potts himself on our Ins and Outs segment. We really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. It was fun for me as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
And this is where we say goodbye for now on this Monday morning.
All right, enjoy your warm Monday, and it's also going to be it's going to be a wet one out there. So take care, drive safe, and we'll see you back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.